right, welcome back to the Pinstripe Podcast,
Powered by
episode 2.
Riverside FM.
I'm Ryan Clark alongside Andrew Lucella.
Yo, what's going on?
Pretty rough weekend for the boys.
Yeah, I agree.
We started off hot and then kind of just nothing good this weekend.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. That's I tried to enjoy, Father's Day weekend a little bit. Trying not to pay too much attention to it, but to the Yankees, not Father's Day.
Yeah, no, they were
But
except for the Red Sox, they kind of little boyed us this weekend. Yeah, I mean we kind of did it to ourselves, to be fair.
I mean, yeah. Listen, I don't want to get too wrapped up in it too early on, but they're like, there's something about the Red Sox. They just, even like on paper, if we're the better team, I just feel like they just have our number. I mean, I could probably go back and find the stat on the record of the last probably 5 years against us, but even when they're not that good, they still find ways to beat us.
100%. And
getting swept is even worse.
Even if the stats didn't show it, this weekend for sure did. But let's hop into the Royals series.
Yeah, I mean, the week started off well. I thought coming into this series, we had kind of had the Royals' number. Talk about teams having each other's numbers. That's kind of with us. We love the AL Central, I'll tell you that. So 3 games set against the Royals. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday action. Game 1 was Max Fried, Noah Cameron. Started off with a bang. Noah Cameron probably could have guessed it. Aaron Judge, first inning home run. He dominates off the rookie pitchers.
Almost 470 feet. Just a beautiful shot.
Yeah, that was an absolute bomb. I was out as well. I was at White House on Main Street in Fishkill. Had to a little bit of a situation I had to go get a couple drinks. So, yeah, watching the game in there. Judge homers, absolute. I've personally not seen too many balls hit that far. I would say I wasn't there, but like on TV, just watching the game live, absolute shot.
Absolute moon shot there.
His domination of rookie pitchers just continues. Just countless homers off rookies this year. 2-0, just fastball right down the middle. See you later. So early start for us. Game was in control basically from the first inning on. Wells went 2 for 4, the homer, 5 RBIs.
Dominguez, 3 for 5. I want to emphasize all his hits came from the right side.
Yep.
Which we haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah. A couple infield singles, a couple bloopers. That was kind of the tell of the tale of game 1. Kind of the entire series. Even both sides with the Royals, too. A lot of bloopers, like in that triangle between whether it was the shortstop, left fielder, center fielder, second baseman, right fielder, first baseman. A lot of kind of no man's land hits for both sides, but the Yanks really capitalized off that in game 1. But, Wells had a nice 3-run shot. He had 5 RBIs total in that game. Volpe, Dominguez, DJ combined for 10 for 13. Those two guys, DJ swung the bat well too. And then Fried, 7 innings, 2 runs, 4 Ks. Continues to be a stopper. I think coming into that game, he was 7-0, or 9-0 on the season, but I think it was 8-0 on starts following a loss. So he came in 7 innings, 2 runs, 4 Ks. Another impressive performance from him. De Los Santos and Hill finished the game off. So just really nice offensive showing. Starting game 1, coming off the Boston series. I thought that was a good, turn of the stone for us. Good little statement victory there.
Yeah, something I did want to highlight. Sorry if you said this already, but all the Yankee starters recorded a hit in this game.
I didn't say that, so yeah, you know what? It could be.
Yeah. I mean, our bats were working this game, and Noah Cameron he had a .84 before this game ERA, and lets up 7 hits, 5 runs in 5 2/3. 5 2/3 throwing 102 pitches, might add. So, talk about having their number. We for sure had his. And just the last thing I'll point out about this game is Caglione looked uncomfortable and right. And he let a lot of bloop singles down. And, I'm not a professional baseball player, but those looked gettable for some right fielders, most right fielders. And, but,
Yeah,
just
I
looked
mean,
a little uncomfortable out there.
yeah, he's not a natural right fielder. Having him out there, listen, their outfield, they don't have much out there. I think they're starting, other than Jack, I think they're starting listing outfield is Drew Waters and Kyle Isbell. So it's like, if you don't really know ball, you probably have no idea who the hell those guys are. Hence why one of the keys into why their offense is so bad. Um, but I mean, Jack is coming when he's coming out of Florida. Obviously, beginning off, he was a two-way player, but now uh, mainly obviously just a hitter. But he was playing first in college, so he has that versatility. But I think right now the only spot for him is the outfield. Obviously, they got Pasquantino and Salvi rotating in at first, so right field just kind of stick him out there. He's a great athlete, so I think that's where the upside they see that defensively could be. But right now, really that call up is just getting his bat into the lineup. I don't think they're too worried about his defense, but
We did see him at first base later on in the series. So,
yeah. Um, yeah, so game two, Judge homered later in the game. Uh, Goldie was 2 for 5 with 2 ribs. No other hitter in the lineup had more than one hit. We started that game with Lugo. He was Lugo was game two, right? Yeah.
no, Lugo's game
No,
three.
Lugo was game three. Sorry, Bubic. Yeah,
Game three.
Bubic. Pardon me, Bubic. ERA leader entering the game. Um, Yankees said, "Fuck that." He struggled. He struggled tremendously, and not even just because he gave up 5 runs, but he was up to I want to say I think he was upper 90s into the fifth or sixth inning. So Yankees really worked him. His put away stuff really wasn't there. I think just an overall gritty performance from the lineup. Obviously that guy's king of the hill when it came to the ERA starting this year, whether it's skewed because of ballpark or teams he's faced. Obviously you can't deny he's having a great year. But I think the Yankees see him well. I think his career numbers against the Yanks are not very good. So
And we saw that jump out in the second inning
yeah,
with 5 out of our 6 runs all in that inning. So
yeah,
it was
he
it was a good
couldn't
performance.
stop the bleeding. Was really kind of unable to get the big out in that game, and forcing Matt Cataro to go to the bullpen early, and more often than he would have liked was pretty vital for end game two. Um, but then on the bump on our side, I've been bashing him a little bit just off eye test, but when you dive deep into the numbers, Clark has been solid, and he's been
Yeah.
solid for the last few years. And last night I think was a really big, or not last night obviously, but game two I think was a very big start for him and his confidence going forward.
Yeah, for sure.
I,
Only 2 hits, 7 strikeouts.
yeah, finishing the
Looked great.
full sixth inning. A lot of time he was getting into the fifth or early on in the sixth and then getting knocked out, which again, most of the times you're going to take that start. A guy gets into the sixth inning, at least an out into the sixth inning, you'll take that as a manager. But for him to finish the full six, with obviously very limited damage, everything he was throwing was just very well located, great execution on his pitches. And his big thing coming into the game was it was the curveball to lefties, and he threw it a lot in this game and got a lot of Ks on it. So, we talked about in the last episode about him having a lefty neutralizing pitch. I talked about all of his pitches go into a lefty, and then that's why him not having a changeup is kind of, you'd like for him to have a changeup against the lefties. He only really has that two seam, but if he can use that curveball to lefties, when he backdoors cutters or backdoors a sweeper too to neutralize him. I think it's a big pitch for him going forward.
Yeah,
But
he looked great. He looked like he was locating his stuff, which we've seen a lot of misses from him lately. That it was just great to see. He doesn't have the fastest stuff, so it was good to see his breaking balls and off speeds being located in the right spots. You saw it with the 7 strikeouts. He had his good stuff that in game 2.
yeah, well, it looked like Clark Kent out there.
Yeah,
Uh, and then really game just finished off. Leiter had some trouble in the ninth, so forced us to bring in Devin to close it out with no issue. Uh, Touching on that real quick, it might not seem at the moment where it's like, damn, oh, we brought in Devin for what, 8 pitches to close it out. That's no big deal. But it does affect the next game and the next game after that because it's obviously Boone his whole rule with the not using guys 3 out of 4 days. Obviously, never 3 days in a row. So obviously Devin has to pitch in game 2. In hindsight, you say, oh well, look, he had to pitch in game 3 as well, which eliminated him for the first game of the Boston series. But you can't predict what the next game is going to be after game 2. But being up 6-1, 6-0 in the ninth there against Kansas City, there shouldn't be any need to have to use him.
I would agree. We hadn't seen much action from Kansas City up until this point. Dropping 3 in the ninth is a little scary, even if we have that 6-run cushion. Um, so I wasn't upset with that choice.
I wasn't either. I thought that's what you have to do in that situation. Just shut the game down there. Don't let it linger. It's just when you look at it as a whole, obviously you agree with the choice to go to him, but then it does play a factor in the following next day or two
Sure, of
because
course.
it basically sets him a day behind. Like, God forbid we had the lead going into the ninth in game 1 of the Boston series. Who's closing that game out? So
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, Loizaga is back. We had that option. Not saying he's anywhere near Devin Williams, but in my opinion, he's a trustworthy enough guy to hold down a game if need be.
based on his performance this year, I'd put him up there. Listen, don't Johnny Lozani is my guy. All right, don't
We
start.
know he is.
I love Johnny. Okay, I'm waiting for that velo to creep back up to where it used to be, but it's getting there. But
We
game
can
three, this game was a kind of a
dud.
scheduled day off for a lot of guys. No Judge, no Wells, no DJ. Um, Kind of just a third game of the series blah fest.
Yeah,
It was,
we had already taken the series 2 games, and I would say it showed that you know there were a lot of our starters off, but we can get into that.
obviously giving those 3 guys day off. Going up against Lugo, Will Warren on the bump. Pretty good pitchers duel. Very good pitchers duel. Obviously, the final score was 1-0, so pitchers really did their job. Lugo threw the ball well. Warren threw the ball well.
Yeah, Warren wasn't too bad in this
Warren
one.
pitched to more contact in this one, which was key for him going a bit deeper into the game. So not a lot of deep counts with strikeouts. Keep that pitch count down. The lineup again was quiet. Ascar, this was kind of, again, you look in hindsight, this was kind of the how do I want to say this? Kind of a trailer for the Boston series for the offense, if you really want to say it like that.
Yeah, we
Only
spoke
scoring the
about
one
it.
run.
We spoke about it last episode between Escar and Wells and who goes in different situations, and Escar was in and he proved himself. Only hitter in the lineup with 2 hits, going 2 for 4. So he did his job. And granted, there weren't too many people that did their job in this one, but we got it done.
Yeah, I mean, he was JC, only guy with 2 hits from the Yanks in that one. But after Warren came out, strong performance from Hill, Leiter, Johnny, Devin, finished off the final 3 innings. I think we're gonna kind of call this a Pablo Reyes legacy game.
Yeah.
Guy.
I'm not sure how that last run came
I,
across.
I don't even know. It's crazy. He starts off the ninth, the leadoff single. Eventually gets moved over to second. I think it was who singled. Was it Grisham? I think Grisham singled or walked, and then eventually Judge came up to pinch hit. Well, Judge actually it was before that. Uh, Judge pinch hit and very controversial strike three call. The annoying thing was um it was the 3-1 pitch was a slider that backed up on Urseg and was called a ball, and he threw the same exact pitch on the 3-2 count, and it was called a strike. So I think that's really where the real issue was in that argument against Judge. Listen, whether it was a makeup call for missing the first pitch, because it literally, when you look at it, it's the same exact pitch. Neither one was a strike, so it doesn't really justify. But Yankees eventually deal with some more umpire issues later on in the week. I'll kind of
Yeah, we're gonna
touch
have to
on
touch
that.
on that later.
But eventually we score Goldschmidt with the liner to first, kind of off the glove of, I think at that point it was Pasquantino was at first. And so Reyes, with 2 outs, Reyes coming around third was already his read is to be scoring. Thinking it's a base hit. Sees the ball off the glove, is then picked up. If they just they tried getting Goldschmidt at first. So covering first, tried getting him out at first. He's able to beat it out because of where the ball trickled to.
You see the head.
If Pasquantino just held onto the ball and just threw it straight home, that inning, that run never happens. But the fact that he threw it to first, then Ursig pump fakes, Reyes falls, and then throws the ball in the dirt to home, and he's able to score. So it was a pretty fanatic way to score a run there. No one really gets a true RBI. It's an error on Ursig. So
And that being the only run of the game, that's tough on Kansas City.
yeah,
You know,
especially with their mediocre offense, it's like you have to find any and every way to score a run, and to give
yeah,
up a
especially
run in
with
that
our
to give up a run in that matter, it's just kind of heartbreaking for them. It's just kind of the way their season's going.
love to see it for the Yanks though.
Yeah.
It,
Oh, well,
it
I
doesn't
mean,
matter
absolutely.
doesn't matter how it gets done as long as
Yeah.
you push
You
that run
like
across.
you love to see those kind of, I don't want to say numerous legacy games, but you like seeing those end of the bench guys make like an impact, whether it be previous years when it used to be like Ronald Torreyes, and then a couple years ago, when Matt Carpenter first came over, so stuff like that. So not seeing when it's not the usual suspects doing the damage, I kind
I
of like
love
to
to
see
see
that.
it,
Yeah, but
but yeah, I guess we'll unfortunately move into the Sox series. Yankees bring out the brooms on Kansas City. Feeling good.
foreshadow.
Yeah, feeling good coming into this series as a fan. The Yankees come in off of no rest, but I won't play the blame game.
I will.
You'll do whatever you can to make the Yankees look any better, but not honestly not a ton of action in this game. ERB was leaving a lot of pitches in the zone. Um, it wasn't too hurtful, thankfully, but yeah, Rafaela RBI single up the middle. Trevor Story scores. That was it for a while for the Sox. Our fifth inning, I do want to touch on. Dominguez reaches on an error, steals second. DJ single to right. I think they should have sent Dominguez.
I agree.
He's got speed. I think you got a 1-0 game. You want to send that run across, but he doesn't. Also, as well strikes out. And then Peraz is up next. Peraz is fast. My thought process: lay down a bunt. There's only one out. You got to lay down a bunt and push that run across. Peraz is not the best hitter, and maybe he beats it out. So I think there were multiple opportunities for the Yankees to score in the fifth, and we've seen this before. Lots of runners left on, and that was a story for this one.
Yeah, that was kind of a piggyback from the previous Boston series. Just The runners left on base. Yeah, you touch on it. We just talked about not seeing the usual suspects coming in and being able to manufacture runs. That's our bottom of the order. That's prime position for our bottom of the order to get some sort of run across. First and third. Listen, I know you first and third with nobody out is a great situation, but the ball hits a right field. It's a rookie out in right field. Make him make a play. Dominguez has great speed. Send him. Worst case scenario is you have a runner on second with one out because DJ is going to move up to second on the
Yep.
throw.
Yep.
So worst case scenario is that, but you have to make the rookie make a play. The guy's playing in his 5th career MLB game. He's known more for his offense than he is defense. So make him make an impressive play with the play at the plate in the 5th inning when you're only down 1 run anyway.
Yeah,
So
completely agree.
you got to take a chance there, especially knowing that you're at the bottom of the order. Listen, if that was rolling it over to top of the order and saying, okay, we have first and third with nobody out, and here comes the top of the order for Goldie and Judge and Rice, I'd say, yeah, it's a great decision. But you're at the bottom of the order anyway. That's prime position to take a chance, play small ball, get a run in however you can.
And if that, say like you said, say that doesn't work out, Dominguez gets home, and DJ gets a second. What is there, 1 out? I don't know if there was 1 or 2 that would play it very differently, but if there's 1 out,
it would have been 1 with DJ
yeah,
on second.
if there's 1 out, I would still put Peraza down for a bunt, move DJ to third. Maybe he beats that out. Maybe it's a perfect bunt. He gets there, and then you got top of the order. There's plenty of opportunities and plenty of ways to go about that, to score, push a run across, push a couple runs across. And so I just think their base running was not saying that it was their fault. I didn't see the third base coach's arm going or hands up, but the base running only gets worse. So we'll touch on that later.
I will say this: Garrett Crochet is fucking disgusting.
Disgusting. We could not handle him, and we saw it in the last series too.
He's going to be such a difference. If this Red Sox team is getting hot, he can be such a difference maker for them. He already is. Probably one of the best, if not the best, offseason move from a team this past offseason. So 100%. He's just been mowing down everybody in the lineup. We didn't even look like we didn't stand a chance.
Yeah, I think you touched on this in the last episode. We hit fastballs well. This series, I mean, he's pitching. I think he was going 101 in the 8th or 9th.
Yeah.
So that velocity, it's just ridiculous, and we could not catch up to it.
The key with him is he gets it to the top and above the zone. Trying to get on top or even make contact with a pitch that fast, that high in the zone, it's pretty much impossible. And then the one time where he misses down with the fastball it's much easier to hit velo when it's in the bottom of the strike zone than it is at the top. But the one time he did miss down, we saw what happened.
Yeah. Like you said, Judge ties it up with a solo homer, which at this point he had been 0 for 6 against Crochet, I believe, and with 6 strikeouts. And so this was huge to see. I thought we finally had some momentum.
2 strikes.
Yeah, I mean, Cruz comes in and gets his job done in the 9th. Tim Hill comes in, gets his job done, going into extras. It was
all I can do is just shake my head. I'm sorry at this what's about to happen. So
it's brutal. I mean, you got runner on second with the extra innings rule. Volpe tries to steal third. Why? Well, I don't understand.
I will say this. I understand. I'll let you finish first, then we'll touch back on it.
Yeah, so I just think, it's in extras, it's 1 run. If we push 1 run across, they're going to do the same. They're the home team. They have that advantage. They could bunt, runner scores, tie game again, repeat the process. I mean, granted, our offense hadn't been producing much at this point in this game at all, really. And So maybe that's the right move to just push a run across and maybe we get lucky. But regular game, that's a in a regular away game, that's a terrible move in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I understand it from a sense of Dominguez had been swinging the bat well, so you kind of trust him in that opportunity to get the run in if Volpe gets the third. I will say this: to call him safe on the field and then overturn it, I didn't think there was much evidence. The only thing I could have thought of his left hand was, I guess, elevated above the bag as he
Yeah.
was sliding in,
You wear the
which also was a very
again,
impressive tag by Meyer. It was dropped the tag really quickly.
right.
Um,
But you wear those sliding mitts.
for that reason,
Your
to
fingers are
slide
going to be
into the
okay.
base, not above
Your
it.
yeah, your fingers are going to be okay. You got to get that whatever your longest finger is. Get that in.
Yeah.
That's all we need.
But, in the sense of the decision, I thought it came too late in the at bat. If you're going to steal, I feel like it should have been earlier than the two strike count,
Totally agree.
in my eyes. I also think stealing with a batter from the left handed side is where it doesn't really make any sense. I, whether you trusted Dominguez to get a base hit or not, so say he gets out, DJ comes up next, you steal with the righty at the plate. You try to steal third with the righty at the plate because now the catcher's got to go around the hitter to throw the ball at third, which gives you an easier opportunity. I don't know. That was just, again, you find plays in games, sometimes not so obvious as others, that are kind of like, you'd be like, yeah, we're going to lose this game. As soon as that happens, I'm like, we lost.
Yeah. And, after Dominguez struck out, it only got worse for morale, for the team, just everything in general. I think probably the biggest thing other than Judge's home run in this game was that ball down the right field line.
Fair ball. It's a fair ball 7 days of the week.
8 days of the week, I'll call it.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't really understand how we can have all this advanced technology. MLB's implementing a, challenge ABS system into the league next year to challenge balls and strikes. We've had this digital K zone that they use on broadcasts. How do you have nothing for foul balls like this along the foul line? Implement something in the way that tennis has. They call it like Hawkeye.
yeah,
They
yeah,
have these review systems. The ball is very clearly on the line in the replay. Like there's a portion of the ball in the replay where you can't see the foul line. Now, just based off of, logic, if you can't see the foul line, that probably means the ball is on top of the foul line. So for them, again, to not determine, and they spent longer on that than they did the Volpe steal. They spent
yeah,
a lot of time
yeah.
reviewing this call, and then to still call it a foul ball, and then
You know, I
we
don't.
see the aftermath of it, and then LeMahieu gets thrown out. Jeremy
Yeah,
Rehak, I think, has something against the Yankees, uh, along with Alfonso Marquez, who was the umpire in the Royals series. That guy's got something against the Yanks because the missed calls are just brutal.
yeah. Especially one that you spent so much time looking at, and I don't know how you can say not enough evidence to overturn. Doesn't You see the ball touching the line? Doesn't matter if it's a seam. It does not matter. You see
Yeah.
one speck of the ball touching the line. That's a fair ball. And like you said, Boone comes out as soon as they make the review call, and he's yelling whatever. As soon as I saw that gum start to come out of his mouth, I was
Dude,
like,
he
"Oh,
launched it.
he
He looked
he
like he
is done."
was yucking that thing across the diamond in first base.
Yeah,
He had some velo on that, I will say.
yeah,
I'm waiting for. I don't know if it's came out yet. I don't think it has. There's going to be a John Boy lip reading coming out for
for
that.
sure.
Which
Yeah,
you don't need John Boy to read
not
his
at all.
lips. I'll tell you that.
Not at all. I
Uh,
did see he made a quick lip reading, and it was just, how do you miss that over and over and over again? And then DJ ends up grounding out to first and runs down the line, says something to the ump. We don't know what it is. Gets tossed. We find out later. All he said was that was a bad call.
yeah,
How are
I
you
think
going
he
to
used
talk?
brutal. I think he said
Brutal.
that was a brutal call.
Regardless, not a curse word used. He didn't say he made a bet. He didn't point it at the umpire. Doesn't matter. I don't know how you get tossed over that. Granted, it's extra innings. Just a terrible inning for the Yanks. I don't see how that can tip you off that much where you got to toss someone
Yeah, and
who's
then
usually a quiet guy.
yeah, and then you finish it off. Just fast forward. Of course, it's gonna happen. Former Yank walk off again. All hindsight. There's more that goes into it. Obviously, we're not MLB managers, just being fans. I don't see how you, with Tim Hill in the game, lefty versus righty, I don't see how you don't walk Narvaez to get to Duran, who hadn't done anything all night, and then
Who
you
didn't
put
really
him
do anything all series,
into
but
anything else
you didn't
series,
know that
and
at this point.
and then you put him against a lefty like Tim Hill. Great matchup for him. Another one of those questionable decisions. Obviously, and then 3-2 pitch. It's funny because you look at it, you look at polar opposites, right? Crochet was successful all night, pitches up in the zone. He leaves one pitch down. Judge sends it to Lansdowne Street. Tim Hill was great keeping the ball down. One mistake he makes, ball gets left up. So kind of polar opposites there. I think that pitch is a couple inches lower. It's a ground out or just a weak fly out. But Narvaez is able to get his barrel on it. He killed us all series too. Killed us in
Yeah,
the previous series. He looks good.
yeah. He
He's
like you just said, he looked great the entire series, and maybe he had our number. Maybe he looked at the scouting report, but he for sure had our number.
crushes fastballs. Holy shit.
So tough loss on that one in extras. Game two, honestly, not a whole lot to talk about. Um, just a terrible game for the Yanks. We see a lot of errors from Volpe in this one. His defense was terrible. The first run that scored was on a throwing error by Volpe. You see it in the fourth. Trevor Story hits an RBI double. Volpe turns around looking to throw to first. Story sliding into second. He could have had him by a step. It, there were just so many bad errors by Volpe. It was hard to see.
Another guy that killed us all series too was Trevor Story. I think he's got his groove back. A lot of Red Sox fans are talking about maybe trading him for pitching. Instead, they traded somebody else. Um, but he killed us all series too. Yeah, Volpe. I don't know. This game was just another one of those ones where it's like after that loss the previous night, it looks like it carried over into this game. Rodon wasn't very good. It's now 2 starts in a row. He might be hitting a bit of a slide. Sure hope not.
He's been great earlier on in the season, and it's just 7 hits, 3 earned runs, only 4 strikeouts, which isn't typical from him. And our offense didn't do much to help him. I mean, we did have, I would say, about half of our lineup had a hit in the game, but clearly not much useful.
Nothing from the top three guys. 6 strikeouts between the three of them. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, Judge 2 strikeouts, 3 strikeouts in this game, 3 strikeouts in the prior game. Just not what you want to see from the best hitter in the league. And it showed that he was slumping. You don't want to rely on one guy, but it's it sucks to see that he's not providing as much as the rest of the team is in an important series against our rival. But
yeah, he came out tonight after the game and basically said this series is on me. I'll take all the blame for this. 1 for 12 with I think 9 strikeouts. They pitched it. Listen, that's about what they did this series. Every pitcher that faced him pitched him about as best as you could possibly throw it to him. Fastballs above his hands in the zone, sliders
yeah,
and curves down,
right.
drifting away from the plate. They just
Yeah,
pitched him
that
perfectly.
I think some pitchers are starting to get his number that those down and away breaking balls are going to kill him every time. He loves to swing at those, loves to chase.
And his chase rate has gone down, especially on those pitches, so much over the years, and he's still not chasing those pitches as much. Like if you throw back to his rookie year, some of the pitches that he was chasing out of the zone just that weren't close, and he was whiffing on them. Now it's a lot. These pitchers have gotten so much closer to being strikes that he's swinging at now. A lot of those sliders, they're strikes all the way and basically until it gets to him. It doesn't look like it on TV, but as a hitter, it's a fastball low until it gets to you, and then it just drifts away. So a lot of them they're just really good pitches he's striking out on. I feel like he's kind of in not desperation. That's not the right word, but I think he right now he's kind of in a feel like he needs to do too much mode.
Yeah.
To where it's a lot of big swings. There were just at bats during this series that he just looked a bit hesitant whether to be aggressive or not. Again, missed a couple fastballs that he should be hitting. So I think it was just a rough series for him in general. Again, not gonna worry about it. Not gonna be like, what's going on here? It's just one of those series where I think um, they pitched him perfectly. That's all you can really say about it. I mean,
And our offense clearly wasn't doing anything to help him. Something that the broadcast said was over the last, somewhere in the middle of this game, it was 30 innings. Obviously, it's more now. Judge is the only player on the team with an RBI.
yeah, saw that.
30 innings, and no one is providing value on the offense. You can have hits here and there, but that's not a valuable. Sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. You're the first one on, but we are leaving a lot of runners on, and I think that's something we need to pick up on.
Yeah, I think that was the case going into I think it was like the seventh inning of game two, because it dated back to game three of Kansas City, or like late in game two of Kansas City into game three, into the first game. Yeah, it was like 30 innings without someone else recording an RBI. Shout out, obviously not we scored some runs in the ninth. Shout out, De Los Santos, clutch 3 innings out of the pen.
Yeah, he's been looking right.
He's pitching to a 1.83 ERA.
Yeah,
I mean, I can't go wrong with that.
no, I mean
That definitely saved the bullpen for us a
for
lot.
sure.
So that was pretty clutch. I find it funny that right now the Yankees' relationship with him is just kind of like, yeah, so we just kind of need you to throw some innings for us, whether the game's close or not. And he's like, all right, just goes out there and just gives us what we need. Kind of what you asked for with a player like him, but he keeps showing this. I don't want to say he's going to become a high leverage pitcher for us, but he can start pitching some more meaningful innings and not just these kind of we need length from you innings. He's throwing the ball really well.
And sure is. That pushes us to game three as of recording this today.
Do we have to?
Unfortunately, we do. Going into this game, Volpe is 6 for 12 against Bello, and you know, I don't think it showed. 0 for 4 today with a strikeout, and we have harped on Volpe a lot, but he's been one of our weaknesses, one of many weaknesses, I'll call it, in this series. We left 2 runners on in the first. We saw Volpe more errors in this game. First inning, Rob Refsnyder reaches on an error from Volpe, ended up grounding into a double play, so it kind of erased it. But they pushed a run across in the first. I won't touch too much on the innings because there wasn't a ton that went on in this game, but
not one bit.
I
will
pitching.
say I'm so happy I was not home to watch this game. I was out enjoying a nice Father's Day brunch, but I am so happy I was not home because I probably would have thrown something at the TV. Watching this
unfortunately, I was home. And I was watching
I thought you were going to say, unfortunately, I did throw something at the TV.
I probably should have. Maybe it would have encouraged something. But, some of the highlights from this game, or lowlights, I guess you could call them, Yankees continue to run the bases like drunks, as we saw pushing over from last year. Volpe getting caught stealing last game to Dominguez sleeping, thinking there was three
Oh,
strikes.
God bless. Yeah.
Just brutal. I mean, and then Rice too. Rice got picked off. Um, just not what you want to see from major league players. Um, I mean, pitching wise, this game, even Freed looked great in this game. 106 pitches to close out the seventh. You know, 6 hits, but 9 strikeouts, 2 earned runs, one of them unearned. Volpe again. I mean, Bello, 114 pitches through the seventh.
He was fuck- I didn't think they were gonna extend him that far.
No, he was nuts.
Hey, he looks really
Where
good today.
I mean, I think the biggest highlight of this game and this series as a whole is that the Yankees pitching is not getting any help from the offense, and I mean, I'm really hoping that going into the next series we see a change in that.
Yes,
But
sir. And you know why we will? Because, ladies and gentlemen, brace for impact.
Big
John,
Mike,
Big Mike, Giancarlo Stanton. His name's Giancarlo. Uh, Big G is returning to the lineup either tomorrow or Tuesday against the Angels. I really could not be more excited. He's swung it really well in his rehab assignments down in Double A, which also one of their games that he played, it was a Jimmy Buffett night, like Margaritaville night. Wore some
yeah,
pretty cool
yeah,
jerseys.
looked real pretty in those jerseys.
Yeah. But he swung it really well in the rehab assignments. Said he
Some
feels
may
good.
say some may say Mike had it his way in
Mike had,
Somerset.
please God, don't. You know, they let Mike do whatever he wanted down there.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Mike said no
Jesus.
safe word down there.
Yeah. Oh man, that's just all
But
over my
yeah,
TikTok.
I'm excited to have him back.
Yeah,
If
I
he
think
picks up where he left off, I would love to see it.
yeah, I think it's gonna play again. I think it might be one of those situations where they kind of ease him in at first. Um, but I think it creates an interesting narrative, especially with the way some of the guys have been swinging. It's what do you kind of do right now? Who gets sent down? Um, I don't. I think Peraza is out of options to be sent down to AAA, which means do you send Reyes down?
I
Does Reyes
personal
get
opinion,
DFA'd?
personal opinion, I would send Reyes down. I think Peraza has way more value.
You know, I would agree with that to a certain standpoint. Peraza really struggling offensively. It's about the same as putting Pablo Reyes there, but I just think you're defensively you get more from Peraza. I guess I'll let
Yeah,
Reyes does give you the versatility to play the outfield at least. Peraza doesn't.
that is true. But and to be fair, we haven't seen as much offense from Reyes as we have from Peraza. Peraza has been a starter
Yeah.
way more games than Reyes has. So maybe it's one of those, you know, toss ups. Who's going to play this game? I mean, yeah, there's a lot of thinking to do from the front office, and we'll see
Yeah,
how they play it out.
I think with Stanton, game one, I think you probably see him Tuesday. Truthfully, just you got a tough righty on the mound in game one. Jose Soriano. I think they'll probably stick with kind of the lefty rotation they have for game one at least. Game two, I think you could see Stanton. It is another righty. It's Kyle Hendricks, who I don't even know. I'm surprised he's still pitching. I think you'll see Stanton Tuesday. I don't know. Maybe Boone surprises us and throws him in the lineup Monday. I would probably play him Tuesday instead.
I would have to agree with you there.
I'm just really excited for him to be back. Just lengthens the lineup again. And it's just throwing him in the lineup. It's like now. It's like also too. I feel like he just brings another level of kind of the intensity and the swagger of the lineup back too.
And just adding another veteran to the lineup. Honestly, we
Mm-hmm.
have those like older guys, and then the really young guys, and we don't have a ton of that in between. Um, So it's
I would
nice to
call
have.
I wouldn't call him in between.
Oh no, no, no! I'm no. Big G is for sure a vet. He is
Definitely not in
not.
between. Bellinger's like an in between guy.
Bellinger's an in between. DJ's an in between. He might be
Pause.
pushing to the older side now, but it'd be, it's gonna. I'm gonna love to have him back. Hopefully, he produces as well as he left off, but you can't expect that from someone who hasn't played a game of Major League Baseball in
Since
however long.
October.
So yeah,
Yeah. He didn't have a spring training at all, so bit of a workup for him. So maybe this with Rice struggling, whatever, easier rotation for Boone. Maybe there's a trade coming soon involving somebody. I don't know. That's
that's
topic for a different day. But just on the point of injuries too, I'll kind of breeze through these.
Stroman's making a return sometime
Stroman
soon,
should be returning this month. He's being built up as a starter. He did say he's open to pitching from the bullpen. He just wants to be back in the show.
which
So
I did like to hear that from him. We saw that kind of
yeah, I would.
little
I
bit.
also would like to hear that from 3.5 months ago. But you'll
Yeah,
take it now,
totally
I
agree.
guess.
Yeah,
You'll take the pitching depth wherever you can get it, especially when you're starting
yeah.
to
I'll
reach
take
this point in the season. Even just active guys though, right now, Jazz got nicked up a couple times in that Kansas City series, and it looked like he was lingering in the Boston series. He left early with a neck injury in Kansas City, came
yeah.
back
Just
a day later, left early with a groin injury. So he wasn't really busting it out of the box in the Boston series. So I feel like there might be something lingering there. Maybe he'll go for some testing
yeah. He
to
looked a
come back to New York.
little fragile overall this past week. Something that looked like nothing. He was out the next day, and not
Mm-hmm.
saying that it's going to be major, but you don't want to see that multiple days in a week
Yeah.
from one of your star guys.
So who else we got here? We got Scott Efros returned this past week. I don't know if he pitched, to be honest, uh, at all in these couple games. I'm sure he got some innings somewhere in one of these games that we sucked.
Sucked
That's
is the
just the
best way to
truth.
put it.
So he returned. JT Brubaker, who's been rehabbing from injury for over a year, possibly coming back this month as well. He's made a couple starts in AAA and looked good. He could be another rotation piece if you want to go with a six-man rotation. Give Freed an extra day, Rodon extra day maybe. I think that all kind of depends. A lot of guys don't really like getting an extra day rest. A lot of these starters are so routine oriented that every fifth day is important. A lot of times you'll see a pitcher off of an extra day or two of rest, not as sharp. So we'll see if they kind of do something with that or just add him to the bullpen as well. Thank God they did when they called up Efros, they sent down Hedrick. Thank the Lord. Um,
Oh, one quick thing I did want to touch on is before we um, kind of wrap up here is I believe it was in game one of the Sox series. Yeah, Ian Hamilton had one good inning. That that's all
that's
I can
great.
say. That's
It's so encouraging. I'm so happy Ian Hamilton had one good inning. Thank you.
it's
Thank you for
one
adding that in.
one more than we've
I have that in my notes. I left it out for a reason. Didn't feel the need to touch on it.
Got to give him credit where credit's due.
Yeah. I appreciate it. So Luis Heel too started throwing bullpens. He's still a whiles away though, late July, early August. Luke Weaver did receive a platelet-rich plasma injection to help speed the healing of his hamstring injury. So we're looking at him coming back late June,
Yeah, I believe he
early
threw
July at the
two
best.
bullpens the other day.
Yep. So our pitchers are getting nice and healthy. So that's good to see at this point in the year. Again, maybe a trade is coming soon. You kind of saw, you know, today we see Devers get traded to the Giants. Um,
Yeah, big news in the AL East.
yeah. So
Going from coast to coast.
yeah, I think so. A little segment gonna kind of do here. Do something called Yank of the Week. Kind of one of our standout guys from this week. Um, across a couple of the games. hitter, pitcher, you know, maybe it could be Boone one week making a lot of good coaching decisions. Who knows?
Yeah.
Um, but I'll start my Yank of the week. Looking at a bunch of different guys that maybe it could have been. Not a lot of guys had crazy weeks across these two series. So I decided to go to the pitching side. Um, a lot of good outings, bullpen and starters. But
If you take mine,
I mean, I probably did, to be honest, because he was great. I did go Max Fried.
okay, that's
Two starts. Uh, in those two starts, he threw 14 innings, only gave up 4 runs, 13 strikeouts in those two starts. Um, Moves him. He did take the loss today. Moved his record 9-2. He's got a 1.89 ERA. Uh, Again, he was on the right side of the offense support in game one of the KC series, and then he was on the wrong side of offense support in game three of the Boston series. So obviously he gets 10 runs in game one, he gets 0 runs against Boston, but still kept us in the game both times. So he just continues to be great, man. Talk about one of the best offseason. Him and Crochet are probably tied right now for best offseason moves for teams. I don't think we expected Freed to be this good coming over. I knew he was good. I loved the signing. I was vouching for him over the two of the other guys that teams wanted, Corbin Burns and
which clearly didn't end up well. Yeah,
yeah, unfortunately,
unfortunately.
hate to see that for Corbin. But I actually wanted Freed out of the big three. That was I think what it was. It was Burns, Freed, and who was the other big fish? Uh, Snell. Um, I wanted Freed out of the three of them, and we got him.
And
He's just been awesome. I think about getting a Max Freed jersey. Gotcha.
yeah, I try to stay away from any of the good players because anytime I get a jersey, they either get traded away
You
or
got the
injured.
curse. Yeah,
So yeah, um,
he's got the damned curse.
you know, for my Yank of the week, I don't. There's not a ton of players to highlight this series. Um, I also went the pitching route, and it may be the easy way out because he only threw one game this series, and that's Clark Schmidt.
Hey,
Not
Clarky.
I'm not saying that he performed phenomenal or which he did perform. He did pitch great in the Royals game too. But coming off a couple bad outings, staying only 2 hits through 6 innings, 7 strikeouts. It's something that we hadn't seen from him in a while, and I think it's great to see. And I think it builds up his confidence going into the next series, especially with the uncertainty of a couple pitchers coming off of injury and not knowing where he stands because he's not our top two. I would put him at number three, but if
Mm-hmm.
he continued to do what he did in the last couple of weeks, he may be on the chopping block for with these new pitchers coming up. So I think he pitched really well, and I would love to see him continue to do so. And I think his confidence really built up, and I think he can bring it into the next series.
Yeah, I was very impressed with Clark. Obviously, he starts tomorrow in the first game of the Angels series, so we'll see how he pitches in that one. The Angels have been swinging the bats better, but I agree with that. I think both pitchers. I mean, that was the highlight kind of the week. Our pitching was very good. That's why I think it was an easy decision to not take a hitter because again, no one really stood out. Wells was hot in the KC series and then cooled down at the end. Dominguez had a couple hits, Volpe here and there, DJ, Judge, a couple homers, but other than that, there was really nobody else that stood out
Yeah,
other
no,
than some of the arms. So
yeah, yeah. I think pitching was really the only highlight in this one. But just before we wrap up, I think to highlight some the main parts of this away series is our defense behind the pitchers needs to step up. Um, you know, obviously the bats. Judge, especially. I hate to let it keep falling on him, but I think he's in a little bit of a slump right now. I don't know if you want to call it a slump, but he hasn't been performing. He's still holding the what a 370 something
He
average
still leads in all the three categories in the American
every
League.
category.
It's crazy though. After the series, he was hitting 397 and now he's down to 378. What a bad series can do to like your average. Which again, he'll be the first person to say, I don't care about my stats. He just wants to win.
Yeah,
I think this series against the Angels is going to be a big bounce back for not just him, but for offense in a whole, because their pitching is a no-no, to say the least. Their pitching is horrid. Other than Soriano, who's on the mound tomorrow, uh, he's been their best starter, and really their only good one. Um, so I think this is going to be a good bounce back series for us. I just think we have to capitalize. Uh, these next couple sets of series. Listen, dating back to the first game against KC, right now we're in one of those dog days stretches where we have 16 games in 16 days, no day off. So, this series coming up against the Angels, four against the Angels, which I thought it was kind of weird.
yeah.
And then you go and face Baltimore. So I'm going to
Who
the
took
game
the
on
first?
Saturday. Let's go.
They took the first series from us.
They did. The Orioles are playing a bit better baseball. They're still not good. So this is kind of a stretch that we need to take advantage of the schedule that we're in. We need to
Yeah,
capitalize. Um, and then eventually I think we play the A's after. So a lot of winnable games. Try to bounce back in the right direction. It's kind of scary. The Red Sox are getting hot. Obviously, they just made the trade. Uh, you know, Trading Devers to the Giants for two starters that have been bad this year, as well as two prospects. Uh, that could be touched on at a different time, maybe. But
so we'll look into how that trade works out. Maybe in the next episode.
yep, yeah. So it's just with us, like I said, capitalizing now. You got the Rays are only 3.5 out. Blue Jays are only 4.5 out of first. The AL Beast is back. That's for sure. A lot of people
Yeah,
saying this division was the worst in baseball for a while, but this division is back, and teams going in opposite directions right now. I think it's going to be a lot closer than we. I think maybe we expected like a week or two ago. So it's going to be interesting. And one last little note, I'd like to say, I'll talk about things I'm excited for. Obviously, Big G returning to the lineup Tuesday. Tune in on Yes. Garrett Cole. He's going to be spending a lot of time in the booth as a quote unquote analyst
love
uh,
to see it.
with the Yes guys, Michael K. I'm sure Coney and O'Neill will be in the booth as well with him. So that should be pretty entertaining. Good to hear from our ace. Well, not from this year, but I call him my ace. Yeah, Garrett Cole. We'll get to hear from him on Tuesday, so that should be pretty fun seeing him on that side of things. Probably talking about his injury rehab and how he feels about the rotation and the team as a whole. So it'll be good to hear from him. So I'm excited for that.
Well, coming off a rough week, hopefully next week we'll have the bats going. So, um, anything you want to say before we sign off?
No, I mean, other than the fact that I think we just got to bounce back. It was an interesting week overall in baseball. Um, Anybody out there listening, wish you all and your fathers a happy Father's Day, your grandfathers. Um, it was a special week this week, especially a lot of these holidays. Baseball falls on and they play for these holidays during the spring and the summer. So it always creates a little bit of a nice little feel. Nothing better than going to a game with the pops on Father's Day. Did that last year, so.
Yep. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers
Hmm.
that are either listening or fathers of the listeners. And we'll see you episode 3.
Absolutely. Thank you guys.
Thanks for listening. See you on the next one.